Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Eternal Spring. I am Paul Thrott, and I'm here as always with my wife, Stephanie. Hello.
Hello, everybody.
So I assume it's obvious we're back home. We're not in Mexico City anymore. We were there for 5 weeks. It was a great trip, et cetera, et cetera. But uh, yeah, we originally were thinking about doing a recap video, but we had some experiences on that trip that inspired us to think a little bit about how we could improve Eternal Spring. Although, I mean, honestly, we've been kind of thinking about this dating back to when we first started researching Mexico 3 years ago.
hmm Yeah. So if you go back, 20 years ago, we started taking our kids to Europe, and um, things aren't like that anymore. There's no kind of one expert for Mexico or Mexico City that you can trust, that keeps their content up to date, like we found with Rick Steves when we were traveling to Europe a lot. And we've always kind of thought of travel research, I think because we started traveling so long ago, kind of more in terms of TV shows and books and websites.
But by the time we started looking at Mexico, there are books and there are other things, obviously, but the most relevant and up to date and useful content that we found was on YouTube, right? And
Mhm,
that's good and bad, right? Videos are more immediate. You can see a place before you go there, which I think is kind of incredible compared to, a book from 20 years ago, or whatever. But the quality is all over the map. And one thing we've noticed just in the 2, 3 years we've been doing this, that a lot of the people we followed, especially in the Mexico City area, have just kind of come and gone, you
mhm.
know?
Yep.
And look, we get it. Well, we've made no money creating these videos. This channel is not a money maker in any way. People have to eat, etc.
Mhm.
But still, there's a hole.
Yeah, there's definitely a hole. Um, we also saw the same hole when we were looking to buy an apartment 2 years ago. Because again, this is a project that requires a lot of research, and it's more serious than planning a trip or visiting a city because it's a lot of money. It's a major life decision.
Hmm.
It's definitely a place where we could have used some help, um, but we did not find any content online or on YouTube that was, really relevant, and trustworthy and up to date that we could count on to follow. Um, we muddled through the process. We got lucky in some ways. We connected with, a man named Jose who really walked us through the whole process and spoke perfect English.
Right.
We did The builders that we worked with also spoke English, and were helpful. All the foreign stuff to us that was unfamiliar in terms of things that are not done the same way they're done in the U.S. We lucked out with the exchange rate. We got a good value for our dollar at the time compared to today. So in many ways we were in the right place at the right time, but
Mhm.
we definitely could have used more support.
Yeah, and that's why we created Eternal Spring, right? The thing that's interesting 2 years later, though, is that we're writers, right? We're not video makers, you know.
No.
We knew we could communicate this information and maybe help some other people, but we thought of Eternal Spring as a blog mostly, right? That maybe had video on the side as little accompaniments or whatever. Um, Video wasn't supposed to be the focus. It's very hard to do. It's time consuming, and I can't explain this. I don't think you can either. But for some
No.
reason, 2 years later, we're still making videos, and we've stopped writing about this stuff for some reason, right?
Yeah.
So we're not going to stop making videos if you're worried about that. But um, on this recent trip, like I said, we had some experiences that kind of reminded us of why we're doing what we're doing, and we have decided to make a few changes.
Mhm. Yeah. Yeah. So on this last trip, again, like we almost always do, we stayed mostly in Roma Norte,
Mhm.
and we visited a lot of the familiar places that we've come to love all over the city.
Mhm.
And we also found some new favorite places, and we'll talk more about those soon. We didn't take a side trip this time like we had planned and like we keep planning because we were able to get a lot of work done in the apartment. That's in our previous video, so you can see the highlights of that there.
Hmm.
Um, and then on this trip, this was a first. We were happy to meet separately with 4 different couples who all had reached out to us because of this channel. So that was really fun and that was really interesting. They all had different experiences, they all had different perspectives. Some of them knew a lot more about the city than we do, and in getting to know them, we made some new friends.
Yeah, I mean, it was really nice. And
Hmm.
between that experience or those experiences and our new neighbors who are also friends now, a lot of new kind of perspectives coming in, which is really neat.
Yeah.
Um, on my end, and from kind of a content end, because I do all the technical stuff, I guess, we also started creating YouTube shorts for the first time on this trip. Kind of unsure of what, you know, like how that might work. But that ended up working out really well, I think. And
Hmm.
of course, they're much easier to make. They take less time. And I think for certain topics too, something very specific, I think it's a nice
Hmm.
little format. It doesn't have to be a big formal enterprise. So, like I said, we're gonna keep making videos. We're gonna make shorts. We're gonna make full length videos like this one. But we are writers, and we wanted to spend more time on that. Something we've been kind of talking about for a while, frankly. And two main areas of focus is bringing the blog back up to speed. You probably don't even know we have a blog. We do. Haven't updated it in quite a long time. So we're going to work on that. And for lack of a better term, a book, right?
Yeah.
I've been writing books for 30 years, so I think in that format. But whatever form it ultimately takes, a longer reference work that focuses on food, drinks, sites, neighborhoods, all the stuff we love about Mexico City, sort of an eternal spring guide to Mexico City, a
Hmm.
Roma Norte centric view of Mexico City,
Hmm.
maybe. Our Mexico
Hmm.
City, however you want
Yeah.
to think of it, right?
Hmm.
Um, so this is early days. We've talked a lot about this. We've taken some notes. We've started kind of structuring things a little bit. But what can we say about this even at this early date?
Yeah, so one of the people we met on this trip had asked us about a book, and it
Yeah.
is something that we've wanted to do from the beginning.
Hmm.
We feel now that we're at the point where we finally have enough experience that it makes sense to start working on it. Um, Before we were just too new to
Hmm.
kind of separate out the good from the bad, just didn't know the area well enough. And I think, there's always more to learn, but we're getting to that point.
Hmm.
And then this is, like Paul said, this is something that we know we can do. We're amateurs at video, but we're both professional writers. Paul's written over 30 books, so the idea of taking on writing of a book is something we know we can make happen.
Yeah.
Um, it will start out small. Um, it's gonna be written over time in real time. So, the initial parts are gonna be, little entries, and as it will grow, the goal is to kind of turn it into a Rick Steves type book for Mexico City. So, comprehensive, useful, reliable, up to date.
Right. Right. So short term, not much is going to change from your perspective, I guess. There'll be more videos, short videos and full length videos as before. We've been updating some of the graphics and designs, and you'll see those things start to appear, but it will be in keeping with the look and feel of the channel as it's been. We're going to bring that blog back up to date. We have ideas about how to do that. And then actually keep it going, right? That's the hard part, I guess. And then we'll continue to block out the structure of the book and see how that evolves. And at some point, we'll be able to go public with something, even if it's a very incomplete early thing that we can, get feedback on.
Hmm. Yeah. Yeah, and we're kind of mentioning this now because we need help. We need to know what you're interested in seeing. Meeting with other people over this past trip made us realize how everyone has their own perspective, everyone has their
Hmm.
own experience, everyone has their own interests, and we want to go into this making it something that's useful for a broad range of people. So we'd love to get your feedback. For Eternal Spring in a broad sense, not just the channel that we have now, but this other content that we're working on as well. And ultimately, we want to become that resource that we couldn't be, that wasn't there for us 3 years ago.
Yeah, that we wish we had.
We
Yeah,
wish we had, for
for
sure.
sure. So there you go. We'll have some more videos soon. We have those neighborhood videos to make. I think when we're home, that's a good time for that. We've been collecting
Hmm.
information for those.
Hmm.
So we will be back soon. But thank you for watching, and we'll see you again next time.
Thank you. Bye.